The instructor, during training, unexpectedly fired a real gun at the new recruit ahead of him. His goal was simply to force the new recruit to run faster. The driver tried to warn him that this method was too dangerous, but the instructor was very confident in his shooting skills. At this moment, the new recruit mistakenly thought the instructor was trying to kill him, so he drew a dagger and charged at the instructor, shouting in anger. However, the instructor immediately threw the new recruit to the ground behind a car. As the new recruit tried to continue his attack, he was stopped by other soldiers. The driver explained that this was all part of the training, but the angry new recruit insisted that the instructor was clearly trying to take his life. Furious, he struggled to break free from the soldier's grip, but unexpectedly, the instructor knocked him unconscious with the butt of his rifle. The instructor then asked the others how the capture of the new recruit went. The first 10 recruits to be captured would be eliminated. At this point, the driver didn't want the new recruit to be eliminated so easily, so he pretended to have a stomach ache, asking the team leader to wait for him. However, after waiting for half an hour, the instructor still hadn't seen the driver return. He prepared to leave alone but discovered the car keys were missing. Immediately, he realized the driver had tried to help the new recruit by delaying time. When they returned to the camp, all the recruits had already been captured by the instructor. The instructor immediately announced that the first 10 recruits to be caught would be eliminated, and then warned the remaining recruits that they would undergo even more rigorous training. The first task was for them all to run a 10-kilometer armed cross-country race. But when everyone returned to the camp exhausted and ready to rest, they found that the instructor hadn't prepared any food. Fatigued, they had no choice but to rest and sleep first. However, the instructor suddenly opened the door and threw a smoke grenade into the room, forcing the recruits who had just fallen asleep to wake up. Once all the recruits were gathered together, the instructor immediately ordered them to do 2 hours of push-ups. Meanwhile, the instructors ate grilled meat beside them. The smell of food made the recruits long for it, since they hadn't eaten anything all day. As the recruits neared exhaustion, the instructor purposely placed the grilled meat in front of them, hoping to tempt them to give up. In the end, they resisted the temptation of the food. The next day, at dawn, the recruits began the next training task, but by then, they were physically drained from hunger. The instructor mocked them for being too slow. The recruits were tortured all day long. Finally, the instructor told them they could rest only after completing a 20-kilometer armed cross-country race. Many recruits fell to the ground due to exhaustion, while others who were still pushing forward struggled immensely to reach the finish line. This new recruit, with the encouragement of his teammates, managed to stand up despite his weakness and ran towards the finish line. However, when he finally reached the end, he collapsed due to exhaustion and passed out on the ground. So, do you think this method of training soldiers is too cruel?